Tricia, you ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right, awesome. Everyone, welcome to the regular city council meeting, Monday, April 5th. Clerk, can you please go ahead and call the roll?
Alderman Santee,
Here.
Alderman Glab,
Here.
Alderman Schaefer,
Here.
Alderman Harding,
Here.
Alderman Mihevek,
Here.
Alderman Devine.
Here.
Alderwoman Miller.
Thank you. If everyone could please stand, unmute yourself, and please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
All right, we'll go ahead and open up this evening's meeting with public comment. Is there anyone in the public that would like to make a public comment? This is for items that are not on the agenda this evening. So if you have something to talk about, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you go and floor will be yours.
Hi, this is Keith Varkalis, 2007 Birch Lane here in Mchenry. I just want to go over a couple things that I found on the Mchenry website. Referring to the governing principles, provide an open and honest government. I hope that continues, and I hope that is taken into consideration with upcoming concerns of the City of Mchenry and its residents. Establish an environment that fosters open communication, dialogue, and active listening with both internal and external stakeholders and customers. Again, I hope that continues. Ensure quality, responsive customer service. I would like to say that Cody has always called me back or given me time when I've talked to him. Enhance the community's quality of life. That's a big one. I think that needs to be remembered when votes are taken. Embrace the diversity of multicultural and multi-generational working environment. Be fair and objective in making community decisions. I'm going to repeat that. Be fair and objective in making community decisions. Going down to code of ethics. Avoid illegalities, improprieties, and any perception thereof. Okay. Avoid accusations or perceptions of wrongdoing. Do what makes the most sense. Do what is right, not what is easiest. These are some of the things that I've read on the website of Mchenry. As everyone knows, I was part of a town hall meeting, and I was recently told that we all should be ashamed of that meeting. I don't understand why, but I was told I should be ashamed of it. I know there has been, many people have been told that there is open communications. And with that being said, in the near future, the Oaks of Mchenry will be extending an invitation to Mayor Wayne Jett to meet with us in an open forum in a town hall. Because I understand that on these meetings, we are not allowed to ask questions. We can only make comments. So I would like to have a town hall with Mayor Wayne Jett so we may ask questions. I thank you for my time. One last thing on the open forum. I do want to apologize to Alderwoman Sue Miller for misunderstanding what she said at the last meeting. And again, Sue, I do apologize. Everyone have a great night.
And Keith, anyone else would like to give a public comment at this time? If so, please unmute yourself at this time.
Hi there. Yes, Christine Reinhardt, 3304 Almond Lane. I'm going to continue on what Keith was mentioning earlier. You know, when I first heard about the project, I reached out to Mayor Jett via the city website. I never in a million years expected the response that I received. Right off the bat, he stated a few things of interest. One of the things that he noted was that he was the only mayor in the county and beyond that listens to all concerns. Then went on to say that the developer was not looking for water and sewer reductions like I had made it up. He further stated that residents and council members causing a scene will not help our community grow and will in essence scare away a large developer who talks to all of the big players. I'm not sure what that means, but I'm sure he can explain that at the town hall. He also stated something that I did not understand, which was this development would long-term lower our ERV for property taxes. He ended with, please let me know if you have any other questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out. That was February 15th. We have reached out almost daily since that time. In that time, I've received dozens and dozens of emails and texts and had conversations with people that experienced the same inauthentic response and selfless promotion of this project from the mayor, as well as inaccurate information at times from the city planner, zoning, and development. To date, we have not received answers to the questions of utmost importance to us as citizens, residents, taxpayers, and homeowners. Homeowners who've worked hard, some of us for over 20 years, to build equity in our homes, and then made out to be the bad guys because we don't care for non-owner occupied housing in our backyards and the devaluation of our properties. In fact, what we have received directly from the mayor's mouth is accusations that we spread rumors, misinformation, and that we should be ashamed of the town hall we hosted. Why? Because it was emotional? Does that not tell you how important this issue is to us? Because that is the message that you're sending when you place laughing emojis next to your backhanded comments on your Facebook pages. There has been a severe lack of humanity and good nature where the mayor is concerned, and that will not go unnoticed. We are not the enemy. We are the people you and the city council are supposed to represent. There is time to turn this around. No one wants this lack of harmony. We ask that you listen wholeheartedly to our concerns and respond to our questions and provide solid factual information supported with up-to-date data specific to our location and not nationwide studies from 2007. We know this will be a mistake, and wouldn't you want the city to be sure that this would not be a mistake and do your due diligence as well? This will be your legacy. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Just for the record, council, I'll send you the communication I had with Christine via email to all of you. So you can actually get that information. Anyone else would like to give a public comment at this time?
Yes, Danny Thomas.
Yes, Danny, go ahead.
I'd like to know if you're going to accept the invitation to come out and meet with us, because I also sent you an email, but unlike Christine, you never responded to mine. And it seems like when people don't agree with you, you seem to get a real attitude over it. And I just don't understand it. So are you planning to come and meet with us or no?
No.
Are you?
Let it go through the process. I've talked to every single one of you.
You've
Let it go
never
through the
talked to me, sir.
Okay.
You've never talked to me. And from what my neighbors tell me, you haven't talked to them either.
I've talked to 50 people there. I'm not going to go back and forth with you. I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of emails, responding to emails that I probably shouldn't even respond to from people calling my staff names, including Christine. So I'm not going to go back and forth with all of you. So it's going to go through the process. You're going to come to council or planning and zoning when it comes to planning and zoning. You can have your time to express your concerns at that point, but I'm not going to come and be humiliated in front of people and be called names and all that during a public forum that you guys are running. Sorry, but I will not be doing that.
But Mayor, you do it on Facebook. You've called us crybabies over here.
I never said that. Show me where I said that. I never said that. Never said that, Danny. So I'm not gonna sit here.
You know what?
I've never said
We
that.
made a
So
mistake with you, and now I feel really bad about it.
I've never said that.
Well,
So-
it's unfortunate that you're running unopposed.
Once
That's
again,
all I
and
got to
it's
say.
another rumor. So go ahead and just stop. Okay. These are the rumors that you guys start, that none of that was ever said. So moving on, anyone else that would like to make a public comment at this time? See none. Thank you all for speaking. Moving on to the consent agenda, items 5A through 5H. Is there any items that the council would like to pull for separate consideration? Alderman Schaefer.
I'd like to pull D. And then I just have a comment on, or a question on F, but we don't have to pull it. I'll wait till we vote on it.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other items by council that you'd like to pull? See none?
Sorry, Jeff, which one did you pull?
D is in dog.
D is a dog. Okay, that's the fraternal order. Okay, that's fine.
All right. Looking for a motion to approve 5A through 5C and 5E through 5H. Looking for a motion and a second, Alderman Santee.
I'll make the motion to approve consent agenda items A through C and D through H as presented. Or excuse me, E through H.
There you go.
Sorry about that. Yep.
No problem. Alderman Miller,
I'll second the motion.
thank you. Discussion on these items? Alderman Schaefer?
Again, going back to F, when those are turned in, maybe this is for Director Hobson. Does anybody look at the ratio of people to the alcohol?
Oh, we do take a look at it. You know, it's sometimes people just don't know, so they put it there. The other side of it is we don't have, quite honestly, we don't have park rangers that go out and check it and verify. We're not open people's coolers, and so, you know, knock on wood, to date, we haven't had issues. We're not counting heads either to go out there and know exactly where they're at, and it does become somewhat of an honor system. It's difficult to challenge somebody unless we plan to go out and counting heads or opening coolers.
Yeah, I guess the concern I have is when they put it on paper that the amount they're bringing and the amount of people, and it exceeds 5 or 6 beers or glasses of wine per person. That might be something to, I don't know. Maybe Chief Burke can chime in, but if we have them put it on there, then either take it off or not include it. I mean, I just think the ratio when they put it on there and it's valid might want to just be checked out or something. It just doesn't make sense.
Okay.
So
Alderman Schaefer, is there a specific one you're referring to that's in this list today that I could look at?
Yeah, hold on a second.
I know which one it is. It's the Mary Matsukis would be my guess.
Yeah, that was that was
50
one of the higher
people and
ones.
10 bottles of wine and 10 cases of beer.
Yes,
The other one seemed
For-
to be in line. That was one that,
Yeah,
for 50 people, which includes kids. So I mean, the ratio, I just use 50 people, counting them all as drinking age,
you know, so
which
from
probably
the police,
wouldn't be the case.
so from the police department's perspective, I'm not, you know, I'm gonna guess this form might be a little outdated, and I'm not sure what the purpose of even asking those is. You know, a case of beer could be 24, it could be 12, it could be 6. It could be an individual 20-ounce can of beer, how it's packaged. So I'm not sure what 10 means. We're just, if we assume that it's a 24 pack, it would seem high, I would agree, but so I guess I would refer back to, you know, just, you know, I'm not sure what the head count on that would be relevant to. Obviously, as adults, they have a responsibility to make sure that they don't over consume.
I just brought it up. If you have no issues and you've had no issues on these, then I'm fine with it.
No, I can't think of any time we've ever had a problem in a park for a private party in the last 10 years where they were, you know, overindulged and we had to have police presence yet, so.
All right, any other comments? Alderman Glad?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Alderman Schaefer to some extent. I think nothing else, and what the chief said, maybe this is outdated a little. Maybe we need to upgrade it. Wine and beer, you know, how many cases, like you said, you know, what constitute a case? Maybe what we need to do is invent a little better language that will specifically address exactly what they're bringing in. And the whole idea is not to have a brawl out there more so than anything else. Just because we've never had a problem doesn't necessarily mean that we couldn't. And unfortunately, once in a while, something gets through and everything goes haywire. So if nothing else, at least it spells it out to the resident that rents it out or leases out the park to exactly what's allowed. I don't think it's a big deal to change the language. I just think we just need to tighten it up a little, that's all.
I'll look into seeing how we can amend that form.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. I don't think, whether we go by ounces, however you want to go, you want to go 6 packs, I don't care. Just so it's plain and simple of what's allowed and what isn't, that's all.
All right. Anyone else, any comments, questions regarding 5A through C and E through H? See none? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Santee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Devine,
Yes.
Alderman Mahavik,
Yes.
Alderman Harding,
Yes.
Alderman Schaefer,
Yes.
Alderman Glad.
Yes.
Thank you, Council. Alderman Schaefer pulled 5D, which is authorize the mayor and the deputy city clerk to execute the attached 4-year collective bargaining agreement between the city of Mchenry, Illinois Fraternal Order of Police Unit 2 for a term beginning May 1st, 2021 and ending April 30th, 2025.
Yeah, the only question I had on here, Mayor, thank you, was I always like asking when we go into these things before we approve them about grievances that appeared during the last contract and if there's any outstanding and those types of things.
I can answer that. We've had no grievances from either of our bargaining units in the police department in over 10 years. 0.
Okay. That's all I was asking. That isn't always the case, but that's been great.
No, we've been very fortunate to have a very strong give and take relationship with the FOP this last decade, and they've been very realistic. And this was not always the case. I would agree with Alderman Schaefer. When we go back more than 10 years, that was not the case. But this is another example of how they came to us with some very realistic expectations, and they were willing to flex to meet us where we needed to be in a conservative manner. We were really trying to focus on where we look at for the next 2 years for sure, financially as well. So it was a great process.
And then it brings up the question, do we have a employee handbook yet?
Derek, you want me to answer that?
Yeah, so.
Wait, no, I'm here, sorry.
Hands on.
I had to unmute.
Easier.
Yes, I reported that we are like final reviews. We're just like at the 99, wait, no, there is no 99-yard line, the 1-yard line. So yes, we will have a handbook very shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Santee.
Yeah, just a brief comment. Spoke to the chief this afternoon and went over this, and it seemed like the bargaining went very efficient and smooth. And I appreciate the information from that discussion and look forward to being able to approve this FOP Unit 2 agreement.
Alderman Glad.
Yeah, I ran some numbers. When you take a look at, 2.5 to 3/4, 2.5 to 3/4 over the last 4 years, you realize that over a 4-year period, it was a 10.9% increase. What they're asking for and what you negotiated for, 2.0, 2.25, 2.25, and 2.5, winds up to be a 9.3% increase, which would make it an increase within 8 years of 21.25% increase on each level. And again, that's not just what the police officers get. They also get, according to the amount of years that they have as far as the steps, correct? Chief, am I right on that?
The term of this contract is 9% over 4 years. I'm not sure whether 9.3, the 2.25, 2.25, 2.5 is 9%. This is not for the police officers. This is for the civilian side of the building.
I understand that.
And yes, they do have an 8-year step compression in their contract. So Instead of us paying them top pay to begin with and giving them a cost of living raise, we make them work for it. So we save the money on the front end and we have to pay it on the back end.
Well, what has been the cost of living over the last 8 years? Do we know? Or the last 4 years at least? I mean, are we?
Don't have those numbers.
Are we staying to some extent with the with keeping them at a level of inflation, or are we raising it? It's always been my concern, and I think others as well at times. You take a look at our budget, you look at what percentage is just for personnel, and if we're not looking at these raises carefully, and years back it used to be people go into negotiations and they bring it back to the council and we go in executive session, we discuss it, and we come back with an offer. And we've kind of been cut out of it over the years. I guess we just don't have any clue of what we're doing. So we've been just cut out. And, maybe with the chief working on it, on his own, maybe it's a better deal. I don't know. But sometimes maybe we just need to look at the history over the last 10 or 12 years and look at what the rate of inflation is and see, are we, as well, and I don't always like to do it, maybe we need to compare what our neighboring communities are doing. Are we following what the neighbor, to keep up with what the others are doing, or are we setting the pace? So it's just thought for the future. I'm not saying today that we change anything. Okay. I'm just saying for the future. And it does, when you start compounding it like that, you see what that percentage is. It is kind of shocking. So I will leave it at that. And that doesn't mean that I don't support it tonight, but I just think that sometimes we need to look at it a little bit closer. That's all.
These are just Alderman Glab just referenced at least the last, I can speak for the last 4 previous contracts in this role and my previous role. These are the lowest percentage increases that we've given, and this will be the 5th contract between the sworn and the civilian side.
All right. Any other questions, comments regarding this item?
Mayor, may I
Yes,
just say one thing?
And go ahead.
I just want you all to know that for all positions, we do look at our comparable communities extremely closely. We are in no way the leader in wages for any non-represented or represented, group of employees. And we do look at the cost of living very closely. So I just feel that you all should know that we do keep a careful eye for all the positions.
I understand that, Ann, but all I'm getting at is it wasn't given to us as far as the rate of inflation for the last 4 years and all that. And again, the way we used to do it, and it worked out quite well, was the council used to be informed as the negotiations were going. It would be brought back to the council before any additional conditions were put on. Before
Understood.
Out publicly that the council has to vote. Nobody wants to vote against the police. Police do an excellent job. We know that. All I'm getting at is we still have to be fiscally responsible for the community, and makes it tough sometimes if we're not involved in the whole process. And I'll leave it at that. But thanks for your comments, Ann. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? See none. I am looking for a motion to approve 5D as presented at this time. Alderman Schaefer.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Second, Alderman Harding.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Discussion by council. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Schaefer,
Yes.
Alderman Harding,
Yes.
Alderman Mahavik,
Yes.
Alderman Devine,
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Santee,
Yes.
Alderman Glab.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Next item on the agenda is action item 6A is discussion to pass an ordinance approving zoning text amendments to chapter 16, non-conformities of the city of Mchenry zoning ordinances, and resolution waiving zoning fees for improving property owners. Ross, can you go ahead and present this item?
Thank you, Mayor. City Mchenry is proposing changes to the zoning ordinance, including but not limited to Chapter 16 nonconformities. Changes include the adoption of an amortization ordinance that would sunset non-conforming uses in residential zoning districts. The ordinance would require discontinuation within 1 year of notification, but provides allowance for time extensions based upon economic hardship. So basically, in a nutshell, as we have identified some nonconformities in our community, we will notice them, and then they will have 1 year to bring that property into compliance or request a use variance through planning and zoning and city council. So if there's any questions out there, I can answer.
Thank you, Ross. Alderman Glab, go ahead.
Do we have anything like this as far as coming up, or is it in place as far as for commercial as well as residential nonconformities? Or are we just looking at the residential only at this time?
At this point, we're looking at the residential. I think the commercial, Cody, you want to chime in on this? When we started looking at this, we solely looked at residential.
I mean, I just take a look and I think to myself, when you hear comments from our communities, from the residents in our community, they're more concerned about the nonconformities and the problems and the looks of our commercial strips and everything off our main roads, more so than the neighborhoods. I mean, yes, you do have individuals that complain about the neighborhoods, and rightfully so in some cases. But all I'm getting at is it seemed like the community outcry has been more about in general as the commercial, and maybe we need to look at the commercial as well.
Yeah, Russ, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, just to kind of chime in real quick, this is kind of just a little roadmap overview. So we just kind of completely overhauled and adopted the nonconformities ordinance, which is really just, that's the teeth of the zoning ordinance. It allows, Ross and I to, retire or sunset these uses to eventually get it to conform, especially with like new developments, for instance, or if like a new business moves into an older establishment. If it's a completely brand new use, they're required to make, specific upgrades to make it comply with the ordinance.
Okay, I took them out. Now I don't know if they'll stay up there. I took them out, repeat. Maybe they'll stay down.
All right. Good deal. Really what this nonconformity section, at least for this amortization ordinance, has to really kind of address the annexations, the forced annexations that are going to be coming up, because based on our ordinance, we have to rezone them when we annex these properties as the most restrictive form of residential. So really this kind of gives us more leverage to tell some of the property owners, especially the commercial ones, hey, let's get a move on this. Let's get this rezoned. But also there's just, it allows us to address a lot of older issues that should have been resolved, but they're just not being resolved. One of them is, of course, religious institutions. There are several churches which we've reached out to already to kind of gone into detail with them and explain the situation, told them not to worry. You've been established here for over like 150 years, but this would allow it so that way, if there's a change of ownership, I don't get an 11th hour call from a realtor or broker saying, hey, is this non-conforming or conforming? And then I have to give them the bad news, and it, pretty much trashes the whole deal. So this kind of allows us to get ahead of it, but also inform people. A lot of people just don't realize these implications, but I can go on.
So Alderman Glab, just to, where we see most of these nonconformities is something like Grand Avenue, where you have a multifamily unit operating within a single family zoning district. And it's been that way for 50, 60 years. So, as we find those, we will notice them, and one of two things will have to happen. They'll either have to bring it into compliance with zoning standards or come before city council for a use variance like Grand Avenue did. And again, as Cody mentions, we do have some religious institutions or religious churches, basically, that are in residential zoning districts that don't have CUPs to operate as a church in a residential zoning district. So this is just giving us the teeth to be able to
the nonconformities in the commercial, just the residential.
Well, we focused on the residential right now because we were directed by staff to start the forced annexation and directed by council to start the forced annexations. And, you know, what we found out in the beginning is that there are a lot of non-conformities that are going to be coming into the city of McHenry. So we need to get those cleaned up and have some teeth in our ordinance that allows us to send them to planning and zoning for use variances or ultimately to eliminate those non-conformities.
Okay, I understand that wholeheartedly. I just kind of wondered why we were just looking at that and not the commercial as well, because I'm sure there's a couple spots out there that we would probably be looking at people that want to come in that or will wind up coming in that are commercially zoned or commercial use at this point in time. Maybe they're not more than a small handful. I don't know, but I'm sure there's a couple out there that would probably fall in that range. So I would just hope we would look at the commercial just as well as the residential. I would like to see it, the non-conformities being addressed everywhere within the city if possible.
Any other, Alderman Miller, go ahead.
So just to add to the conversation, Andy, because of going, sitting on the committee and having been part of the conversation, my concern was, what's the process going to be? And are we going after the nonconformities? And I don't think that's the intent as you read the ordinance. It is really to act as the cleanup and to bring the non-conforming into compliance and to find a way to make them conform, to legalize or legitimize what's going on out there. So although the focus in the conversation has been on the residential, I don't think it's outside of our view or our look to say if a commercial property is brought to our attention, it's Cody's intent and Russ's intent to bring them into compliance or bring them into, Cody's word is legitimacy. And I love that word. Let's legitimize the properties that we know are illegitimate. And I think that's great for the community. And I think that's the intent of the ordinance. So when we had that conversation at committee, I got real comfortable with it, knowing that that was the direction we were going. And I love that tone to the process, that we're trying to legitimize the properties that are not quite there. And I think that made me very much at ease with this process of compliance and getting rid of nonconformities.
And I can understand that. I just say if we're gonna do it for residential, we should do it for commercial also. That's the way I look at it.
I agree.
Any other questions, comments by council regarding 6A? Open up for public input. Is there anyone in the public that would like to make a public comment regarding 6A? If so, please unmute yourself. See none? I'm looking for a motion to approve 6A as presented. Alderman Miller?
I will make that motion to approve 6A as presented.
Thank you. Second, Alderman Santee?
I will second the motion.
Thank you. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Santee,
Yes.
Alderman Glad,
Yes.
Alderman Schaefer,
Yes.
Alderman Harding,
Yes.
Alderman Mahavik,
Yes.
Alderman Devine.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Next item on the agenda is 6B is a discussion to pass an ordinance annexing approximately 0.75 acres located at 2116 North Ringwood Road and a resolution waiving water and sewer connection fees for Home of the Sparrow. Ross, you want to go ahead and present this item?
Certainly, Mayor. Thank you. And just a correction on the agenda, it does say water and sewer. It is actually only water. Home of the Sparrow is currently hooked up to our sewer, and they have been since 1998. So with the annexation, they are looking to hook up to our city water, and they are requesting that they waive the fees of $12,432 in capital development fees. We have waived, council has waived similar requests or granted similar requests for waiver of fees for VFW in the past and other not-for-profits. So again, just in a nutshell, we're annexing the property in and the request for a waiver of fees for, to hook up to city water.
Thank you, Ross. Any questions and comments by council? Alderman Glad.
Yeah, I have a question. If somebody could tell me why the entire parcel is not being annexed, but only part of it?
The parking lot is already annexed in.
I'm sorry?
The parking lot is already annexed into the city.
So all the way to 17 is in already, the 12 to 17.
That, yes. So the parking lot is what actually made it contiguous. There was a gentleman owned 2 parcels. I believe it was 2 parcels. I believe he donated it. Doug, you can back me up on this. I think he donated it to Home of the Sparrow. So they were already in the city, or he annexed them in, which made, in 1998, when they hooked up to city sewer, they were not contiguous. So now they have become contiguous. So now they can annex in, and the entire parcel will be in.
Where does it stand as far as non-conformities? I take a look at the parking that they have over there and everything else. It's not a lot of parking. Nice big long driveway from the building to the parking lot. Where do they sit as far as the way our ordinances read?
So we are actually also in the process of reviewing that. Alderman Glab, they do need to go before the Planning and Zoning Commission for the type of use on the property. But first and foremost, we need to get them annexed in, and then we will take them forward. Because the amortization ordinance passed, we would then basically annex them in and then notice them, and then they'd have 1 year to become compliant. So, but we're already in the process with Deb DeGraw. She's on the line today from Home of the Sparrow to go get that conditional use, and we'll do a complete site plan review.
Are we going to be informed of that? Are you going to send that to us as council so we know where we're standing before it comes back to us, if it has to come back to us?
Well, it will have to come back to you because it has to go through the public hearing process at Planning and Zoning.
Okay. I'm just kind of curious where we're at with it, that's all. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments by council? Open it up for public input. Is there anyone in the public that'd like to make a public comment regarding 6B? See none. At this time, looking for a motion and a second to approve 6B as presented. Alderman Santee.
I will make the motion approving the 0.75 acres located at 2116 North Ringwood Road. Resolution waiving the city water connection fees for Home of the Sparrow, Inc. as presented.
Thank you. Second.
Mayor Jett.
Miller.
Monty, was that you?
Mayor Jett, I'm sorry. So
Yes.
I think you need to do 6B in 2 separate motions because
That's what I thought.
Mayor Jett would vote on the annexation. Yes, and then Mayor Jett would not vote on the resolution if you wanted to pass the resolution. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. All right. So 6B with the annexation agreement. So we'll go ahead and go with that one first. Alderman Santee, you good with that?
So yeah, I'll move the annexation agreement forward as presented.
Thank you. Alderman Miller?
I'll second that.
Okay. Discussion on this item regarding the annexation? All right. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Santee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Devine,
Yes.
Alderman Mahavik,
Yes.
Alderman Harding,
Yes.
Alderman Schaefer,
Yes.
Alderman Glab,
Yes.
Mayor Jett.
Yes. Next item is 6B, the second portion of this, which is the resolution waiving water connection fees for the Home of the Sparrow. Alderman Santee?
I will make the motion for the resolution waiving the city water connection fees to Home of the Sparrow, Inc. as presented.
Thank you. Second? Alderman Miller?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Council discussion? None? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Santee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Devine,
Yes.
Alderman Mahavik,
Yes.
Alderman Harding,
Yes.
Alderman Schaefer,
Yes.
Alderman Glad.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Next item on the agenda is 6C, is discussion to pass an ordinance amending 9 different sections regarding business licenses of the city of Mchenry code. Director Palarecki.
Thanks, Mayor. So community development's in the process of updating, as you guys well are aware, many of our zoning, much of our zoning code and municipal code. In the process of that, we've identified some business licensing that seemed to be a little bit out of date. So Monty and I reviewed the business licenses. We took the business licenses to the CDC committee, Community Development Committee, had a discussion and ultimately a request to forward it to the council to make some changes. In the packet, you'll find all those changes. And then Monty, do you have anything to add? Because Monty was kind of doing the legwork on this. Everything's outlined in the packet. We do want to eliminate a lot of business licensings that just didn't seem to fit nowadays. When especially there were other entities that required licensing. If the health department requires a license, we didn't feel it was fair for us to then require a license as well. But I'm open to any questions, and Monty's here as well.
Thanks, Ross. Open up for discussion by council. Alderman Schaefer.
Was there a recommendation from the committee?
Yes.
So the recommendation, and it's not that we're deleting all of the language out of the code. Like the restaurants would still have to abide by our rules and by the health department's rules. And so all the language in the code stays. It's just that we're not going to make them pay for a license fee just for us to print them off a certificate. So the proposal was to not make these people get a license from us. It's amusements, coin operated devices, mechanical amusements, food deliveries, milk deliveries, restaurants, food dealers, scavengers, and arborists. But the committee thought, the ice cream trucks that go down the street and ding their little bell and try and get you to come run after them to get their ice cream, they wanted to keep that license so we knew for sure who was out there. That way we knew for sure who was there. So they wanted to keep that, and then all the other licenses we were going to keep. We didn't talk about all the business licenses, but there are some listed that we are going to keep that we think we need to, or that should be, like we legally have to, like carnivals and massage therapists. And there's a list of them in that supplement as well, of the ones we will still keep. So they're not all going away, and all the language isn't going away. It's just that we're not going to make them get a license and pay us just for no apparent reason.
What about the popular food trucks now that show up in neighborhoods or other businesses, or how is that being handled?
So we did have a discussion about those. As of right now, we don't receive a lot of complaints about them. Actually, none that I'm aware of. Typically, if they were parked at private property, say like your Home Depot or your Ace, we didn't get involved, or we haven't gotten involved. We do have ordinances that don't allow them to be in our parks. I did hear that they were kind of parked in subdivisions a little bit this winter. I haven't heard any issues with it. If council, would like to create a license for those, we can go ahead and move forward with something like that. But from a staff standpoint, we're just kind of monitoring it right now. And if it does become an issue, then we would address it. But at this point, we haven't had any issues with them. So.
And to be honest, I think once things start opening up and they have festivals and events, I don't think they're going to be on the street.
Yeah, I think
it had a lot to do with COVID. So, Alderman Schaefer, anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on that because there have been those showing up, and I didn't know if that was anything that the city gets any reimbursement for, or if it has to be approved, or if there's, on the other hand, any liability from that if something was to happen, kind of thing. So that's all I was wondering about with those, because I know they have popped up not only at bigger businesses parking lots, but smaller businesses on Main Street and things like that as well.
So my guess and my answer to you, Alderman Schaefer, is a lot of these licenses I think were put in place because there was no way to capture the tax dollar from these types of businesses, right? So like with a food truck, do we know where the sales tax dollars go? It's probably where that person's home office is at, or wherever he does his, tax bill from. So that's where I think a lot of these business licenses came from, was just a way to capture some revenue from. But again, you're talking about a very small amount of money that we were collecting from all of these licenses. Monty, I don't remember what the total number was, but I don't think it exceeds $5,000.
Okay. Just, I guess it's, from my standpoint, it's not really on the tax dollar, but just monitoring, their use and location, and, if there's any issues from a resident standpoint or from a parking or traffic type standpoint. So that's the only thing. It's just, again, it's like having a block party. It would be, we ask residents to let us know, because we, shut off streets and stuff. Maybe it's just something that would be nice to know if that was going on, that the city was made aware of it, or if that's not even something you guys want to get into. That's all I was thinking. Thanks, Ross.
Alderman Schaefer, I just want to comment on when the food trucks do show up in parks. We do regulate that, and we have them fill out a special use form and charge them if we know that they're going to be in parks specifically. That's happened probably half a dozen times, but the most of the time that I've seen them, they're on a street, particularly in like Legend Lakes neighborhood. I've seen them over there on the street and not in the parks themselves. But when they are in the parks, we do have them fill out a special use and charge them. Sorry for interjecting.
Thanks, Bill. Hey, Ross, why don't we go ahead and look at whether, I know other communities, just by discussions, that they do have these licenses. Why don't we do some research in Crystal Lake, Huntley, Lake in the Hills, and Algonquin, and see what they got and see what kind of revenue they get from it as well, and then circle back on that.
Will do.
All right, thank you. Alderman Glenn?
Yeah, so we're going to just pull this for now.
Well,
I would like to move forward
council
with
is, yeah, because of the May 1st, the licensings are due May 1st with our fiscal year. So we wanted to, if council's okay with the changes, we'll come back with something, at least
We'll
at
amend
a
it.
discussion point. Well, no, we can always add to it.
Right.
But as far as like all of the other licensing, if council's comfortable with it, I'd rather it pass tonight, and then we'll bring you back something in regards to food trucks, maybe as a discussion item, with some information about how other municipalities handle them.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm just old school, but when I'm walking in a parking lot, I still pick up a penny if I see it. So every penny counts.
Yeah, but you also have to, I'm sorry to interject, but the staff time too is pennies. And when we're charging $25 for a license,
Yeah. So we'll look at that. We'll bring it back as a discussion item. It'd probably be, after, honestly, it'll be after May 1st. So by the time we get that information and bring it back. So let's move forward, get this done so Monty can get these licenses out. Alderman Miller?
My only other comment, being part of the discussion, is that we did look at each of these individually, and if there was another authority that pretty much had it under our thumb, we felt comfortable that we didn't need to be redundant. So when we were having this discussion in council or in committee, Monty was pulling up, what did the county have, for example, if they were doing a licensing already, why were we being redundant? So he had the county website up, and, were they doing ice cream trucks? No. Well, then we needed to do ice cream trucks. Were they doing, food trucks? Yes, you have to register your food truck and the health department monitors it. So that's not necessarily what we were doing. So that gave us some clear guidance as to what we could take out of our licensing and what we needed to keep in our licensing. So we were very aware in our conversation through Monty's research of what we could be getting rid of and not being redundant in nature. So we were very selective. I mean, originally in committee, my motion was get rid of all of them if they were all a nuisance. And then we backed from that and said, no, some of them are very important. So that's how we got to the list of retention that we're proposing this evening.
Alderman Glad.
Yeah, I just want to mention, okay, there are times that staff misses things of what goes on in the city. Not criticizing by no means. All I'm saying is it happens. I'm sure the county health department, they don't just monitor the city of Mchenry. There's a vast amount in the county that they have to monitor. We could wind up with a food place, small food establishment or something that opens up that doesn't need a license, and they may not even be monitored by the county, licensed by the county, and we don't know it because we don't ask for that business license. So are we going to check these anyway to see if they have a health department license? And if we are, well, there's our staff time anyway. So, to me, we should, if nothing else, have all our businesses on record.
Ross, go ahead.
Alderman Glad, we do require health department approval before we'll give a certificate of occupancy for any food establishment. And the county does license every full service restaurant all the way down to your retail stores, clothing retail stores that sell candy bars in front of the register. So any type of food that you sell is required to get health department approval. And we will not issue certificate of occupancy to open that restaurant until we see that approval paperwork.
Any other comments by council regarding this item? Moving on to public, is there anyone in the public that would like to make a public comment regarding 6C? See none. Looking for a motion and a second to approve 6C as presented. Alderman Schaefer.
I'll make that motion to approve 6C as presented.
Thank you. Alderman Santee.
I will second it.
Thank you. Discussion by council. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Schaefer,
Yes.
Alderman Santee,
Yes.
Alderman Glad,
No.
Alderman Harding,
Yes.
Alderman Mahavik,
Yes.
Alderman Devine,
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Next item on the agenda is 6D, as in dog, is a discussion to pass an ordinance amending Chapter 4, alcoholic liquor, to allow for the establishment of a G license classification. Director Hobson, go ahead and
Thank you,
present.
Mayor. As the mayor just stated, we are seeking, staff is seeking council's approval to amend the Chapter 4 of the municipal code of the alcohol license, creating a G license. The thing about the G license in this case that we are specifically looking to create is three specific things: a location within Miller Point Park, a specific product that will be sold. We don't want any glass, so it's just cans or metal bottles. And then finally, the hours would be extremely restrictive as well. 11 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Monday through Sunday. So those are the three parameters that we are trying to create with this particular license. Just in order to keep it the cleanest, we didn't try to mold it into something else. We just created another license. I worked with the police chief and the city attorney on this one to work through it. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Bill. Open up for council discussion. See none. Alderman Glad.
Yeah. What's the process on the G license? All right, let's say at the point somebody gets a G license, they have to apply at the city and it has to come to council for approval, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I just was looking to see if we create this, if council is amenable to even creating this license. I didn't want to mix it up with any applicant or any amendments to any agreement. This is simply the license, and it would have to follow that process. They would have to fill out an application, go through the background checks, pay the fees in order to come forward before council.
Right, and the G license doesn't give them any ability to move from one location to another, right? The G license is specific to one location?
Very specific to one location, correct?
Right, okay, thank you.
Any other council members have any questions, comments regarding this item? Alderwoman Miller.
I like the G license. It gives us some flexibility to have not only this vendor, but potentially other vendors that are going to set up on city grounds that have a specific purpose or use. I think it gives us limited hours and a limited license. Basically, we're creating another class. And I just want to hear Chief Burke's comments as well. So thank you.
Sure. Thank you. So we took the advice of what council had brought back to us at a previous council meeting when the boat rental place came in front of council and provided their design plan layout. And we sat down and really tried to digest what it is that they were asking for and what we felt comfortable with. And so we even got some advice from the Illinois Liquor Control Commission. We wanted to make sure that that they could sell packaged liquor, and then what would be the requirements for them to sell individual cans or small plastic jars of a individual packaged wine, glass of wine. We wanted to keep the property safe. So like Bill said, no glass. We wanted to limit hours. We didn't want it to be in direct competition with any city-run events on the point, and that's why the hours are limited and there's restrictions. So if there is an event held there, that there can't be a direct competition. And really, we came up with honestly the perfect license. So the police department is in full support of it, and we wouldn't see any issues in issuing this whatsoever. And the Illinois Liquor Control Commission was also on board. We wanted further clarification for what designates a packaged alcohol sale. And so in the old days, which I'm going to date myself here, it was you have to, if you buy a 24 pack or a 12 pack from a distributor, that's how you have to sell it. And that is not the case now. The Illinois Liquor Control Commission provided ourselves and Attorney McCardle some guidance in writing that as long as it's the original sealed container from the distributor, so you can sell an individual can of beer, you can sell an individual glass of wine if it's in a small bottle, individually packaged that way, and that's completely appropriate. And it promotes a safer boating environment. Instead of making somebody buy 6 cans of beer because that's a 6-pack, they could just buy 1 if they were going to go out on a watercraft.
Thanks, Chief. Alderman Schaefer.
I'm just looking at the ordinance. Is there a time of year, like months? Or is it unlimited all year long?
Yeah, we did not limit the time of year. But I think they're going to be limited in an agreement that Bill will probably have signed with them or modified to bring to you later that will limit their operation at the point, which will in essence limit their time of year. We didn't want to build it around a business. We wanted to build it around the site. So if this particular company leaves and the city decides to allow a different organization to put a product there, they could potentially apply for this and come in front of council and plug it into their business model as well.
Any other questions, comments by council? Open it up for public input. Is there anyone in the public that would like to give a public comment regarding 6D as this item is before you? No? All right, looking for a motion and a second to approve 6D as presented. Alderman Santee?
I'll make the motion to approve 6D as presented.
Thank you. Second? Alderman Glad.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Discussion by council? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Santee,
Yes.
Alderman Glad,
Yes.
Alderman Schaefer,
Yes.
Alderman Harding,
Yes.
Alderman Mahivic,
Yes.
Alderman Devine,
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller,
Yes.
Thank you, council. Next
Thank
item
you.
on the agenda is 6E is a discussion to waive competitive bidding and to approve a proposal from Nilco Incorporated in the amount of $124,500 for the development and implementation of the pathways and natural playground elements in Knox Park. Director Hobson?
Thank you, Mayor. This is one in particular, item in particular, I'm excited to bring forward for you, for our community. It's certainly something that's a unique item, an element, and using some parkland that has otherwise been pretty unusable. Not pretty unusable, very unusable over the past. So whenever we acquired Knox Park, this particular area has been unusable. Time and again in our parks master plans, the number one thing that comes up is additional trails, walking trails. We were lucky enough with the rec center to be able to add a paved path basically all the way around Knox Park. This can then adds off of that. It's an item that we included in the budget, $125,000 within the I think I said 1920 budget, and it should have been 2021 budget. So I apologize about that in the supplement. However, the one thing, this is more than just adding a limestone trail that goes through a nice wooded area. This also will add a natural playground, or I should say a number of elements to a natural playground. The best way to describe those elements, I tried to put some examples in the supplement itself, but it really is exactly what it sounds. It's how do you utilize a log, or let kids walk along a log like they might if they were just walking through a forest, or stepping stones, maybe a natural seesaw. Just gives us the topography and the terrain, as well as the wooded area, gives us almost unlimited options to be able to really create an interactive play area for kids that's well outside what you might see in any standard playground. The trouble with that is it's highly specified, and it's difficult to, as we work through the woods, to say, all right, this is exactly where this path is going to go, because you really work with where the trees are, and where are the valuable trees, where are the ones that we can reuse, where are the creek beds. There's a number of streams that run through this particular property as well, and so you want to be able to incorporate as much of that as you can. And in order to do that, there was one other project that was similar, and that was in Dundee Park District, a park called Wahoo Woods, on a much smaller scale than we're looking to do here. And I happened to meet with that executive director of Dundee and had a nice conversation with him, and then followed that up with the actual developer of the park, who happened to be in Woodstock, Illinois. We met on site, and over the course of a year, he just was really passionate about this product, and did a layout for us and design, and really accomplished all that and put that for us. And to the point we're at right now, we're actually ready to go ahead and start building this, and build it in phases. And subsequent to that, as we've kind of started to talk about this a little bit more, there's been some community interest to then also be a part of this project. We haven't advertised it at all, but just through people that have reached out to us looking to be a part of a parks project. And there's some potential significant dollars that would look to add to this park and finish it off. And so due to the specific nature of the park is why we're coming before you, or I'm coming before you and asking for waiver of bids to proceed with this specified work in relation to this project. You're on mute, Mayor. But if you have any questions, anybody has any questions, throw them at me.
Any questions for Bill Hobson?
I don't have a question. I just have a statement. Basically, I don't really particularly care to see, unless we really, really have a superb reason not to go to bid on projects. I mean, it's a fair sized project. It's not $1 million, but $124,000 or $124,000. Again, we go out to bid. Maybe I pick up 3 more pennies off of the parking lot. I don't know. You like that, Mayor?
Alderwoman Miller, go ahead.
I just wanted to thank Director Hobson. This is an awesome project, and I've shared it with a couple of my constituents, and they absolutely love it. It's unique, it's different, we don't have anything like it, and nobody around here has anything like it. So when you call it a kids' playground, that certainly wasn't what we perceived it as. They saw it as a great place to work out and, really push their limits and their envelope, and doing not just a walk, but an exercise program as well, using the logs, using the bridge, using the up and down the hill. So I thought it was a great use of that, what we deem really an unusable space right now. So I thought it was an awesome engineered design space. So I love the idea. And to have somebody professionally already done this in Woodstock, how does that happen? So I thought that was a great, again, a great find. So kudos to you and the team for doing the research and finding a developer that can put that in place here, which probably Alderman Glab saved us the 3 pennies just because they're right next door and they already know how to do this.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions by council?
I'll just say that we don't know if we're saving 3 pennies or not because we didn't take it out to bid.
All right, open up for public input. Is there anyone in the public? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
My other question is, there wasn't a, when they could start, and again, when I reread the estimate, it was like as soon as they could get on the schedule if we move forward. Did you have any idea when that was in your conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. We'd look to still, we really have to break it into phases, and there's probably at least three phases to the project. The westernmost portion is a phase that's we'll say the highest and driest. And so we could get in that relatively soon. When I say relatively soon, I think within 2 weeks is what we had talked about. Now, when you get to the bottom of the hill, there's basically 3 springs that are in there that kind of filter through that and that we're staying completely away from and working around, which is a really cool element there. But that will have to be done in the driest months. When we look to do anything as we work past through that northern section as well as the eastern section, we'll have to do those more in like the August, September timeframes. The nice thing about the western portion is that also we're hoping to have that ready, at least that initial phase or path ready by a June timeframe, which lends well to our summer day camp. So we can maybe even have the kids utilize that and utilize a phased approach. So we're adding elements as we move from west to east.
Awesome. All right, any other city council comments? Open it up for public input. Is there anyone in the public that would like to make a public comment regarding 6E? See none? At this time, looking for a motion and a second for 6E as presented. Alderman Schaefer?
I'll make that motion for 6E as presented.
Thank you. Second? Alderman Harding.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Discussion by council? See none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Schaefer,
Yes.
Alderman Harding,
Yes.
Alderman Mahavik,
Yes.
Alderman Devine,
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Santee,
Yes.
Alderman Glab.
No.
Thank you, council.
Thank you all very much.
Next item on the agenda is 7A, is discussion regarding the proposed fiscal year 21-22 budget. I'll turn this over to City Administrator Moorfield.
Thank you, Mayor. And first of all, happy belated Easter to everybody. Hope you got out to enjoy the super nice weather over the weekend. I know that I did. Can you see this presentation and can you hear me? Good. All right, I'm gonna move this a little bit. First of all, just for those people, residents, or whoever else is on non-council that wasn't able to be on last meeting, we have a couple of different discussions about our budget. The city's, at least the city of Mchenry's annual budget is comprised of some 40 different funds. And about a dozen of those, I'm using round numbers, about a dozen of those funds have to do with the operating departments of the municipality. Those that are funded through the general fund, which are general administration, police, community development, economic development, public works, admin and streets, finance, human resources. I'm sure I'm missing some there, and then there's some that are more business-like funds, like the water sewer fund, which the rates and base fees that people pay, residents pay, and businesses pay
go to pay the costs of the operations of water and sewer, operations, and also some the capital improvements. And then we have the recreation center fund. That facility is run like a business, and the revenues generated through memberships and other service fees there go to offset the cost of the operation of that facility. And then all the other funds of the city, those other 28 or however many there are comprised of fiduciary funds, interfund type transfers like their health insurance funds or employee flexible spending funds or annexation funds. So they're comprised of a bunch of different other funds that we'll list out here in a second. So the last meeting on March 15th, we held a discussion. I reviewed and we held a discussion on basically the operating funds, those that I already identified. And this discussion is typically much briefer and really goes into the other funds that are populated, for lack of a better term, guided by the discussion from the first meeting. And by the way, all the detailed information regarding what I'm going to go over is all provided in the agenda packet. It's near the end. There's a pretty detailed memorandum that Finance Director Carolyn Lynch puts together during each phase of this process that really identifies the specifics of what I'll go over tonight. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is again to review, take a look at, or identify any revisions that were made to those the funds that are listed here in the first bullet point as a result of the last meeting, or things that we've caught or found as staff as we went back through the numbers as a result of the last meeting. And then we will take a look at all the rest of the funds, and specifically I'll identify capital improvements that are recommended in different funds because for example, the TIF fund will fund improvements within the TIF district, whereby the developer donations fund is typically used for or needs to be used for improvements to parks, et cetera. So we'll take a look at the capital improvements in those non-operating funds. And then at the end, seek consensus from council just by a nod of heads. It's not a formal vote tonight to move forward with the final preparation of the budget document. And basically what happens at that point is we take all of the data, all the numbers that we've provided to you up to this point, guided by the discussion, the information in the memorandum. We attach all the descriptors of all those different 40 budgets and supplemental information. And examples of supplemental information is like our fund balance and reserve policy. We have a separate policy that guides what our fund balance minimum should be at least. And that's attached as a supplement. Also, basically a glossary of terms. We can get lost. I know that I do sometimes in the discussion of all the acronyms and different terminology as it relates to municipal budgeting. So a glossary really so that anybody can pick up the budget document, take a look through it, and have a better understanding of what all the different terminology of it is. So the supplemental information comprises a big part of the budget. But we'll package all that together. I'll get it to council. We'll have it hand delivered to council and also post it on the city's website on the 12th. We'll post it probably tomorrow to the city's website or Wednesday at the latest. We'll get it to council in a hard copy on the 12th. And the 19th is when we typically have the public hearing for it, which by the way isn't required, but we have held one every year to provide the public with an opportunity to comment on the city's budget. And then approve that budget for the next fiscal year, which begins May 1st and runs through April 30th. So that's the focus of tonight's meeting. First of all, take a look and again, I can't see everybody. So if you have any questions along the way, just hold your hand up, Mayor can see it, or just speak out and just yell out to stop, and I'll stop the presentation, and either I or any of the directors can answer any of the questions that you might have. So first of all, the revisions from the March 15th meeting. The good news is we remain, it's all good news really. I shouldn't say the good news is because I don't have any bad news to tell you about the budget. Despite the fact that we're just coming out of hopefully the tail end of a pandemic that we never see again in our lifetime. We were able to scale back our expenditures last year, defer almost $2 million in expenditures between operating expenditures and capital expenditures, with the unknown of not knowing what impact that the pandemic would have on our revenue sources. And as we know from the last meeting, with the help of about $1.1 million from the feds, we were able to end, will be able to end the current fiscal year that we're in around $43,000 in less revenues than we budgeted for, which is huge, because we thought early on, again, if you recall, that we'd be in that 10 to 20% range of lost revenues. So we're not going to hit that number by far. But despite that, we were able to defer about $2 million in expenditures, again, between operating and capital projects. Obviously, some of those projects will carry over into this year and are recommended for implementation. But we were able to make some major revisions to some of our operating structures. And again, as you see in the first spreadsheet that you have in the packet in front of you, the general fund revenues one, an expenditure spreadsheet, that our personnel costs are going down, or will be reduced about $1.6 million this year from last year. At least that's what's proposed, which is about 9%. So here's the changes from the last discussion we had, these bullet points. The general administration, and again, we provide the fund number and these specific line items for you to take a look at or really drill into, and these are in the memo. Increased by $6,000 for traffic court fees. The Parks Fund 100, park salaries were amended by $2,100 in one of the line items, an increase that we missed there last time. All operating funds, so all the operating funds throughout, whether it's general administration or police or any of them, actually those line items that I identified, 4310, 20, 40, all related to health insurance, actually decreased by a total of $37,000 from what we discussed last time. I think we identified, or Carolyn or Ann did, that we would see some reduction in this because our rate proposal actually came in lower after this information went out. So that's good news. The net is that we actually decreased the general fund operating budget from last discussion to this discussion by about $29,000. Again, not a huge amount, but as Alderman Glad says, a penny's a penny. So we reduced it by another $29,000 from the last meeting. And therefore, our general fund operating budget proposed for FY 21-22 is balanced by about $214,000. So there's $214,000 more revenues than there are expenditures being proposed without capital costs, obviously, because once we start adding in millions of dollars in capital costs, it throws that number off. But we always look at it from an operating standpoint first, and we're in the black by, or proposed to be in the black by, about $215,000. And again, the impact that this has on the general fund balance is that we have to utilize, or proposing to utilize, about $29,000 less in general fund balance for capital projects than we would have had to based on the first discussion. And just to give some, I don't have it in the presentation, but I ran the numbers today in preparation for tonight, because I know Alderman Glab asked this question, and I think Alderman Schaefer last time too. We have a general fund, a fund balance policy for our general fund, and based on our proposed expenditures for this year, we're right in that 100-day period. Our fund balance and reserve policy said we say that we should have 120 days, or basically 4 months of savings in case something drastic happens, like a pandemic, that we can dip into to be able to continue operations without major impact to what the residents and businesses see. And then if we drop below 90 days, then we need to put in some kind of a plan to recover those funds. We're right in that 95 to 105 day range right now, with we're proposing to end the fund balance this year at about 8.2 million, 8.18 million, and then utilize some of that money next year for capital projects. And next year's proposed ending general fund balance is around $6.9 million, which again is in that 95 to 105 day. So right in the ballpark of between 90 and 120 days of savings in case something else happens. As we know, the state's still messing around with reducing our local government distributive fund, and who knows what turn the pandemic may take. Hopefully not for the worst, to have some impact on our general fund again, our revenues again. So this was listed last time as part of the presentation, and again, it's in the memorandum. But just as a reminder, it's on page 2 of the memo. These are general fund projects that are being proposed or recommended for next year. Where you see the word rebudget, in a couple of these, they're projects that were either started and not finished, or not anticipated to be finished between the budget year that we're currently in and next budget year, or we deferred those projects in an effort to, step back and not spend that money, again, not knowing what the pandemic was going to do to our revenues. So where you see a rebudget item is where we put something off, or again, did not finish a project for this year. So that's the general fund. The water and sewer fund, again, we talked about the operating aspects of it last time. Because of the reductions in health insurance costs, we were able to further reduce this budget, the water and sewer fund operating budget, by about $2,000. Again, not a huge amount, but $2,000 reduction in the proposed water sewer fund operating budget in any case. And then I mentioned that there's about 40 funds overall. And so these are really the other funds. The water and sewer fund is listed up here. I didn't take it off of this list, but you can see this list, and the numbers next to them are the fund numbers that we use for them. So tourism's 200, et cetera, down the list. And then they're broken up into the different areas. So these are all special revenue funds, capital projects, debt service, enterprise, internal service, fiduciary funds. And I'm sure that there's some auditing reasoning why they're broken out this way that Carolyn could explain, but nonetheless, this is how our other 28 funds are broken up into these areas. Just going through that list again, they don't all have operating costs, and they don't all even have necessarily revenues or expenditures into them every year. But nonetheless, they're used for tracking the different costs that are related to these items. So for example, a real simple one is the audit, 230 right here. So, again, we just make sure that there's money in that fund that transfers from the general fund into the audit fund, knowing that every year we audit our financial records and that we're going to have an expenditure for that. And so we track that through a separate fund. So just going through some of the capital projects in those, and again, these shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. We talked about a lot of them, most of them actually at the last meeting, but I'm just highlighting them. This is huge for us, the motor fuel tax and local fuel tax capital projects. Most importantly, you see a 1.6 million. I don't know why I put an asterisk there. I must have wanted to say something else, but I didn't say it anywhere. So I don't know why there's an asterisk there, but a $1.6 million local road program through the state MFT. And then, as we know, we have implemented a gasoline tax this past year, actually this fiscal year. No, it was last year. And so there's another $500,000 there. So the combination of those is about a $2.1 million local road program. And then Troy has also set aside about $500,000 in his operating budget that was not spent this year to also utilize on local road projects. So again, those are the new projects. The rest of these are rebudgets, either again because we deferred the projects, or in most cases here because they're ongoing projects that were not completed or will not be completed in the current fiscal year that we're in. Developer donations and capital projects. Again, there's no operating costs out of the developer donations fund. This mostly goes to fund parks related projects. And so you see the project list here. And again, where it says rebudget is where they were funding that was already approved in the fiscal year that we're in now, that due to COVID, whether the work couldn't be gotten during COVID or because we chose to defer the work because of the pandemic, those projects are being pushed out until the next fiscal year. Tax increment finance capital projects. Bill could talk more about this.
and Carolyn numbers wise, but this was actually last year was actually the first year that we were able to, in a long time, see a positive return from the tax increment finance district, primarily due to the recession going all the way back to 2007 and 2008, when property values decreased. And so again, if the increment was set at a certain level and the assessments dropped underneath of that level that was set back when TIF was established, then there's not going to be a positive cash flow in the TIF fund. In this case, we've now turned the corner. We're starting to see a positive cash flow, and we want to an increment is a better way to put it. And we want to undertake projects within the tax increment finance district. And just as a reminder, there's 4 years left in the TIF, and Bill's still working. Actually, we're all still working with the taxing bodies to get their support to be able to move that forward and request an extension with our legislators of 12 years. District 156, the fire district have expressed their support. In fact, the fire district has given us a letter of support, and 156 is working on it. And Bill's still working hard with District 15 to secure their support for it also. These are the projects recommended in the tax increment finance district. The capital improvement, capital equipment fund, again, this is a rebudget project for this portion of the Bull Valley bike path, just $10,000. But obviously the project is not done yet, and we still have a commitment to complete a portion or our portion of that project. So this money just remains in the capital improvement, capital equipment fund to be able to pay for that. Water and sewer capital projects. Again, these projects are all paid for not through the general fund, not through any other fund except the water and sewer fund, based on revenues that are brought in through user fees, the rates, and the base fees that are paid on water sewer bills. And so we're able to set that money aside. Actually, the rates don't go towards projects, it's the base fees. And so these are projects that are being proposed for 21-22. And then IT projects. IT is the only other fund that is that has personnel costs. We have an IT department. Aaron, I'm sure you've all worked with Aaron and Emily, work in IT, so there are personnel costs. The IT fund is funded through interfund transfers from all the operating departments. So when we took a look at the operating budgets last time, there's actually a transfer that's done once those budgets are approved that goes to fund IT. And then it also funds projects through IT, like updated security cameras in City Hall and other public facilities, like equipment replacement, like backup servers to make sure that if something happens here at City Hall, that we have a backup facility that we can get our information from. So these are the projects, the capital improvement or capital equipment projects that are funded through information technology. And then again, we can go back and talk about any of those if the council has any questions. Again, they're detailed in the memorandum, all of that information and more, including the spreadsheets for each of those funds that I listed in that on the one page. There's spreadsheets provided for every single one of those with line items that identify where the money is going. But from this point forward, I explained this already, starting tomorrow, we'll package the final budget document. It's mostly done already. I worked on a lot of it today. Then next Monday, we'll transmit the hard copy draft to the city council. As you know, it's a pretty hefty document, so it's not something that we can email to you or easily upload for review. So we'll make sure we hand deliver it again, but we'll make it available also to the public online. And then that will be reviewed and considered by council at the annual meeting on April 19th, along with the public hearing for it. So there, I kept it under a half an hour this time, not my hour and 15-minute talk from last time, but I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have, and the other directors as well, including Carolyn, is on the line if you have any questions about anything.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, let me, all right, I'm not going to close it. I'll wait and see if there's
Okay.
any questions.
Is there any questions by council regarding this presentation? See none.
It was a perfect presentation.
All right. Nothing before we move on? All right. Thank you, council.
Thank you, everyone.
Next item on the agenda is 8A, staff reports, transmittal of staff report for April 5th, 2021.
Yeah, so thanks. I'll just hit on this quick. Hopefully council found this useful if you've had a chance to read through it. We will begin now with the council packet transmittal. So every 2 weeks or whenever there's a council meeting, we will be transmitting a consolidated staff report that has latest updates and information from the various departments on major projects or happenings going on within their departments. This obviously goes out as part of the packet, so it's a public document. There won't be confidential information listed in there, but pretty comprehensive updates on projects. We'll try not to go back through and regurgitate things. I know that that's happened in the past where, you know, we just keep adding on and on and on and on, and then we don't know what's the new information and what's the old information. So what we'll do is try to keep it the freshest information that we possibly can. And then if council, of course, if you have questions on anything that was in a past report, or maybe something that we missed, or just something that you want to know about, maybe that isn't specific to the report, of course, you can always contact myself or any of the directors, just like we do now, to ask that question. But hopefully this will be useful not only to council to keep you updated, but also the public, so that anybody else that has access to the packet or wants access to the packet can get on here, grab the report, and see the latest updates on any of the projects that are going on or working their way through the city process, or that's just going on in the city, like garbage pickup or any of those types of things. So hopefully it's useful. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other staff reports this evening? Chief, you got something?
Yeah, just real quick, I wanted to talk to council. You know, a few council meetings back, we amended the golf cart UTV ordinance to be permanent after the first year of the trial, and the council unanimously approved that. And so now typically the renewal cycle for that per ordinance runs from May 1st to November 1st. I have received a couple different inquiries about the month of April, as you know, we've all seen some pretty warm weather here this first week in April. And I'm looking for some feedback to council if they would like me to bring something back at the next council meeting that says that, you know, that they would be in favor of the ordinance being moved up from May 1st to April 1st, retroactive to the 1st of this month. And then we could spread that word between now and April 19th. But I was just looking for some off the record unofficial feedback from council if they would like to see that happen or if they would not. And David, if he's on here, he can chime in too if he wants to.
Let's hear from the older people first.
Yeah, Alderman Glab, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, we need to stay consistent on this. Let's not create it every year by, you know, weather or whatever. We have a certain criteria that we decided on, and that's where we should probably stick. I mean, this year, granted, spring came all of a sudden, just flipped, and we got real nice weather. Next year, we might have colder weather a lot. Usually, April's a very rainy season, and it hasn't been this year so far. So all I'm getting at is by the time we would approve it, it's already April 19th. I think we ought to just leave it right where it's at.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Miller?
So not unusual. I would go the opposite direction. I think UTV usage, if we're going to keep it as a standing ordinance, should be whenever they want to use it. So we did it as a probationary ordinance to see how it went and to see if we liked it and to see if there was an abuse. I think we all had that discussion that there wasn't an abuse. I don't remember how many bad actors Chief Burke identified, but I don't remember that it was very many. I think the more popular it becomes, the more people are going to want to use their UTVs all year long. So I don't think they're unsafe. I don't think that there should be restrictive use to them. I don't see that we should restrict them. So I would be more leaning towards an expansion of all your use if we're going to reconsider going back to the ordinance. That would be my personal preference. John, can you comment on how many bad actors we've had?
Yeah, we've had no recorded bad actors. We did issue, I think, 50 permits the first year, and we had no issues with violations on them. But that is golf carts and UTVs, and so we did, excuse me, we did talk early on about staying away from the winter months when we had inclement weather with snow on the road, things like that. Because I do have a concern of nighttime driving, and I do have a concern on that winter months. Just about, I would hate to see somebody get in an accident because we do have a broad spectrum. Some people are just driving golf carts with seatbelts modified to them. Some people are driving UTVs, which are two different things. And so I would hate to see an accident in the winter. The the topic came up really honestly because we had, like Alderman Glad said, we've had a great week this last week, and people kind of wanted to take them out, but they didn't want to violate the ordinance. And so I just kind of wanted some feedback. April is not necessarily the month I'm concerned about. I'm more concerned about December, January, February, and maybe part of March. It wasn't April, so.
Alderman Santee.
I'm good with April 19th.
Alderman Harding.
My concern would be snow and I know we had a good week this week, but and I don't mind April 1st. I know it was warmer this week, but when we still can get snow, and we might get snow next year too. So I think, I don't think year round is the answer. I think we should have definitive months just for safety reasons. And the snow is a major concern of mine, but I'm okay with April 1.
Thanks, Ryan. Alderman Schaefer.
Just a quick question, sorry, for the chief. When you say zero issues, is that just because I just always question that, because I know that there's been some concern out there, but is that just because nothing was reported to you? Or
Yeah, so what we had done when we passed this ordinance on the police side is we created a computer UCR code, a call for service type code, so that way we could track when we had any issues with people violating the golf cart ordinance, either anything from they're driving a golf cart that hasn't been approved or unregistered and they got caught, or they were violating any of the conditions of the ordinance. And then we have an additional form that's filed in Laserfiche through the deputy clerk's office that the police would then file. So we have two different ways that we can track complaints or violations. And when we run the report, we had none. So I'm not to say that people weren't driving around that probably shouldn't have been. They just weren't caught by the police. We didn't have any documented accidents. We didn't have any driving under the influence calls or anything like that.
Okay, thank you again.
Alderman Glenn.
Yeah, I was just gonna check here. What month was it that the 67 snowstorm hit Chicago?
No,
It was the weekend of Mother's Day. It was in May of '67. We got 23 inches of snow on Mother's Day.
I was in 4th grade.
I wasn't born yet.
I wasn't born yet either.
Not to spur more conversation, but 2 years ago, we had a Palm Sunday or Masters Sunday blizzard, if you remember that.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I'm worried about the fact that you give them some leeway this year. Next year, they're going to expect it April 1st, and you don't know what it's going to be like. That's why we have the dates that we have. I will not take and vote yes to change it from the dates that we have. In fact, I felt didn't want to see them through Halloween, but didn't seem like anybody cared about that last couple days. Where I stand with it.
So
And
Mayor,
as far
you,
as, complaints, I know there have been no complaints that I've heard people actually calling, but yet I've had people complain that in Park Ridge Estates, they have them flying up and down the street in November. So, you know.
so Mayor, we don't have a consensus here because, well, a couple of aldermen haven't spoken up yet, but
Alderman Devine's about to speak up right now.
Mhm.
Alderman
Thank
Devine.
you, Mayor. What about April 1st, weather permitting? If we know there's snow coming down, we could say weather permitting, can't be out in the snow.
yeah. So one option you could do is to have someone determine that each year other than the city council, so we don't have to wait for a formal meeting, have the police department, but then you have to get that message out somehow. So.
Well, I think we have the list of the people that have gotten the stickers, so I think it's easy to send out an e-blast to those individuals. So if you change.
Or
it
you could make it more simple than that. We have parking ordinances that ban parking on streets when there's measurable snow. We could use similar language to ban the use of these vehicles when there's any type of notable or measurable snow on the roadway, period.
I don't think we're worried about the snow as much as we are the ice.
Either one.
Snow doesn't matter. They're not going anywhere if they got heavy snow. But if you got just a black ice on there, it's a lot more dangerous for even the homeowners. You know, come on, we've had cars go through walls. Doesn't mean one of these things couldn't just as well.
I would personally like to see April 1st with some options by the chief of police to send that out. I mean, just because like this past weekend would have been nice to go out, honestly, you know.
And we'll have some years where it'll be real nice in March. So then are we going to go to March?
Sure.
So what we were looking for was a consensus that April 1st would be adopted, let's say, and then we would allow that to occur immediately tomorrow and then have it retroactive to April 1st. But because there's kind of a mix of thoughts here, why don't we bring back on April 19th an ordinance with a couple of options on implementing, and then we'll see where it goes on the 19th, including effective on the 19th.
Could we get some feedback? Alderman Schaefer, do you have an opinion, and Alderman Mavic?
I don't mind it going to April 1st, but I kind of like the idea of both. If we've only got 50 people that are registered with it, why not send those 50 people some type of email when
We have
there's.
that capability. We have all that information on file.
I mean, I just think that doubling up with that, since it's a small number, I mean, if it gets over, you know, a couple hundred or something like that, then I could see what, but if it's just that right now, I don't have a problem doing it, but I'm just concerned from the safety standpoint, because if, again, we keep expanding it a little bit, I don't have a problem with April 1st, but I don't think we should probably look into January, February, March if it keeps going, you know, with global warming or whatever someone's going to bring up. So I don't have a problem with April 1st.
And also, Chief, we could also do a nixle to those 50 people as well, right?
It'd be easier to do an email.
Easier, okay. Alderman Havoc?
I'm fine with April 1st as well. I wouldn't want to go any earlier than that, though, just from a safety standpoint and weather. That'd be as early as I'd want to go. So,
okay. Thank you.
So, from what I have marked down here, 6 of the 7 of you would be interested in April 1st if conditions were met. As far as weather conditions.
So you can have a 7 out of 7.
Excuse me?
You want it
I'll
all
go
year.
April 1st, so we can go 7 out of 7.
I marked you down for April 1st, Sue. I know you wanted other months, but I knew you'd say yes to April 1st as well. It would be Alderman Glad. That would be, I would want to know that he would be okay with it as well. I want to bring something that the council can wholeheartedly adopt. We're not trying to, we want to make it safe for sure. And I agree with Alderman Glad. I do not want to come back to you guys and keep changing this. This is the first time I probably should have looked at this month when I came back to you a month and a half ago with the amendment to take the expiration of the ordinance out of the ordinance. And it was just an oversight on my part. I didn't really think about the April 1st. My focus has always been to try to stay away from inclement weather, that, as the traffic safety component. And that was the most concerning for me. Alderman Glad, if we put some language in there that it could start on April 1st and run through November 1st, but that anytime that there's any type of an event that has certain weather conditions that they would, that the operation should be suspended, would that be something that you would support?
I think I'd have to look at the wording, to be honest with you. I just don't like the idea that, depending on, somebody's going to go out there and they're going to say, well, gee, I never got the Nixle or whatever. And it's April. It's always been April 1st. And people, I mean, there are some there that will.
It's very specific for what we've been doing the process when you get one of these registrations, especially for the first time. Along with your vehicle inspection, you're actually handed a hard copy of the city ordinance, and it's reviewed with you by a representative from the police department, and you acknowledge, and it's documented that you acknowledge you understand all the rules, that if you break them, that you would be your registration could be revoked. So we do agree with that. People are going to say, well, I didn't know. And so that's why even with the first set of rules last year, we were going out of our way with the 50. And Monty, do you know how many people have inquired about renewals so far out of the original 50? And if there's any new on top of that 50?
Yes, I've got quite a few actually already. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 19 people renewed already, and there's a handful of new ones that are in he's just starting the process of inspecting, because it hasn't gone until May 1st. So there are a handful of new ones too already ready to go.
Okay. Well, I will work on bringing something back to council based on everybody's input that I'm hopeful that council would unanimously adopt. And I'll try my best to get it out to council ahead of time. So if there's any feedback, you could call me one-on-one and we could hopefully walk through it. So that way everybody's comfortable with it. We want everybody to be comfortable with this.
So are we not making it effective until we act on it on the 19th?
I think we should wait. Let's wait to make sure everybody's comfortable then.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other staff reports? All right, see none. Mayor's report. Just so you know, I'm going to be sending out an email to all of council with all the emails. Obviously, this morning I was attacked by a few. I will send you all the correspondence because there's been a lot of false information once again. So I will get that out to all of council. So that way, you know, my correspondence with them. I'm actually meeting with a couple of those residents privately that have been professional here in the next couple days because I'm not going to be harassed and called names and so forth, and also send emails that we've received by calling staff certain names, just so you kind of understand what's all going on behind the scenes. But I will be meeting with a couple of those residents in person to discuss these concerns and hopefully, get both sides of the story, and hopefully no rumors will continue after that. So just expect an email within the next 24 hours from me with all those correspondence, and I'll get IT to help me with those. Other than that, I have nothing else. City council comments. Alderman Schaefer.
Mayor, if we could get information on your seat at the table things you're doing.
Sure.
With the chamber, since we're not doing it was always nice in the past when we got to see the presentation and I don't mind this new format. I think it's kind of neat, but can you please share with us any minutes or notes or anything that comes out of that, plus what you present? That would be great.
Yeah, so anything that I will be putting out will be also sent out to you guys in that information that Derek will be sending out on a bi-weekly basis or right before the council meeting. So any information that I'll be sharing at that you'll already know about, and I'll make sure of that. But yeah, it's just 12 business owners every month. I sit down with them. I'm hoping to do a public, I wouldn't say state of the city, but some type of public forum for the public if things get better with the numbers and so forth in the summer. Maybe outdoor event or something like that, maybe at Miller Point. Just to kind of give everyone an opportunity to know what's going on.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Any other city council comments? Alderman Glab.
Yeah, Mayor Jett, I find it disheartening the fact that you won't meet with the residents that have asked now from the Oaks. Basically, I don't see why they, if they're going to meet with you as a whole, you could take and set up a meeting, and you could control that meeting as far as, people's behavior.
Have you seen the video of the forum that that took place?
I saw the video of the forum, and I didn't see any problem with it. And I have some concerns about the fact that some of the concerns that were expressed, that as a council member, as long as I've been here, I have never heard those problems. Yet we had city staff working on it and never informed the council that there was a problem. And that's just concerning to me. And granted, it's nothing that's happened though in the last couple of years. This probably goes way back, who knows how many years, possibly short or whatever. But all I'm getting at is I just feel to some extent when residents ask for that, and maybe you get everybody that wants to show up at that meeting, at least a signature on a sheet that as far as they understand the behavior that has to be given.
I'm telling you, the emails that we have, they will not do that. I'm just telling you. Let me get these emails out to you. By the way that they're sending these emails nonstop, you've been attached to a couple, but not all of them.
Okay.
Calling staff, certain profanity, I'm not going to deal with that. To get Jeff Schaefer out there and his opponent, I just thought it was a lot of childish stuff going on, and to put them up against the wall like that. And I'll stand up for Alderman Schaefer when there's ever an issue in any of part of his ward. He's the first one to contact me and staff. So to blindside him like that is disheartening, and that's what I said. It was uncalled for.
Just your last comment about childish is not something that a mayor in a city should be calling out on the residents of his city, irregardless of what we feel. Okay, out there publicly, that stuff shouldn't be said. Just as you stated some of your concerns about me out there on Facebook, and you talk about unprofessionalism, but yet some of this stuff borders on that as well. So all I'm saying is maybe we need to give the residents a shot at this. I think to some extent this has been going on for a long time. I mean, more than a couple weeks, and yeah, everybody's getting a little testy, and it is a big move that we could take and put as far as onto the subdivision there of the Oaks, as well as the businesses along Blake, and as well as the city. So there's a lot of things going on over there.
But that's part of the process, and that's what all I've been telling them. I never called them crybabies, never said anything like that. This is the process, and that's all I've said. You know, I said, let's not jump to conclusions. Let's have a discussion. I was more than happy to meet with these residents. I've called tons of them. I've actually got a lot of residents calling me in support of this, but they're scared to speak up because some of these people are going off the deep end with us. I mean, honestly, there's more to it. You know, Alderman Glab, I'm not going to sit here and let a few people go after city council or myself publicly when I have a voice too.
And I understand.
I mean, that, you know, that I just, you know, and I'm meeting with an individual that's been on these meetings, you know, but once again, she's been professional. I'll be more than happy to meet with her and her husband. And if she wants to invite a couple people, that's fine. But I am not going to sit out there, have a microphone and have people yell and totally off the wall information. I just won't do it. If there was some professional individuals, I'm more than happy to meet with them. But there's been a lot of unprofessional people that have been totally out of line when all I've been doing is I've emailed the Reinhard, sent an email. I responded to her within 2 minutes. She shared a couple things of that email and it wasn't even accurate. It wasn't, she took it way out of context, and I'll send it to you. I said, I know there's concerns. I know there is things that we need to work through, and we will try to work those out. When I said that there was the water and sewer fees that we're going to be looking to get waived, I said they're not looking to get a waiver on those. They are looking to pay their fair share, and like anybody would want to pay their fair share. So we will look at their, you know, their information, and if it's out of line, they will certainly pay the difference. That was all I said. So they're turning everything around to false information, and then they send out letters to every homeowner that says, call the mayor. Here's his cell phone number. My cell phone number is on everything, saying it's Section 8 housing. So I'm getting personal cell phone, and I answered every one.
So maybe discussing it out in public is better than on a one-on-one where it's he said, she said, because now everybody's out there and everybody hears what everybody has to say. And that's just my opinion, and let's leave it at that. You've got your decision to make, not me.
Right. So, all right. Any other city council comments? Alderman Sandy, you got some?
I'm ready to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Looking for a motion to adjourn. Derek.
Derek's got it.
Oh, well, you raised your hand. I'm like, what are you doing raising your hand?
I was waving.
Oh, okay. Alderman Santee for a motion to adjourn. Need a second? Alderman Miller.
I'll second the motion to adjourn.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Santee,
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Devine,
Yes.
Alderman Mahavik,
Yes.
Alderman Harding,
Yes.
Alderman Schaefer,
Yes.
Alderman Glab,
Yes.
Mayor Jett.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Have a good